Hello, this is James Stell again, and we're going to start on our third segment of the anger management class. And this section that we're going to talk about is bad core beliefs. Bad core beliefs. Now, a belief, definition of a belief is a thing inside that we hold to be true, that are either truth or opinion. So, the thing about this here is that when you have a belief, it's strong because you're holding on to it. And a lot of us have beliefs inside of us that were handed down traditionally, handed down from our mamas, grandmamas, aunties, uncles, tios, and family members. And they were handed down to us. And we just accepted them almost on a superstitious level. But the thing about that is that you got to investigate and see if some of this stuff was true. Because I can hold it to be true, but it's yet still be an opinion. And it can be truth. So the thing that I have to do about this here, I have to break down my belief system. That's one thing that I learned a long time ago dealing with anger, is that I had to check out my belief system, because if I'm holding these beliefs that I'm holding to be true on the inside of me, and if they're inside of my head, my governmental system inside of my head that have been governed through a lot of circumstances, situations, and events, then guess what? I can take that evidence, even if it's false, and especially if I have an identity crisis inside of me, and I can hold that to be true, because guess what? Sometimes some people can be able to, and like such as myself, hold on to things to be true because that's the only thing that I have to hold on to. I never had nothing to hold on to, and the people that did hold that I was holding on to might have a situation, circumstance, and event might have went bad and sour, and guess what? I hold that true to be turn out to be bad, and that's what we're going to talk about in this segment is 6 bad core beliefs. What do a lot of people with anger management deal with? That need anger management deal with is 6 bad core beliefs. And thing about a bad core belief is, guess what? It could be false information given to me as well, and I still want to make it to be true, because I could be a bad gangster out there, or I can have anger. I could get any reason, any right inside of my head to want to be angry, and guess what? I hold that thing to be true, and I don't care what you or nobody else say. I still hold that to be true, because guess what? That's my foundational. And that links into my identity. My anger links into my identity, and then at that point, guess what? It's very hard to break it down from that when it's locked in my identity, because I can use my anger to manipulate people, to make them think that right is wrong. I can manipulate opposite, wrong is right. I can be very manipulative, and I can say that is what I do, and I've been doing it this long, so why should I stop? Because why? It done got me places. It done scared people. It done gave me a safe sense of identity. Now, the definition of anger, as I said before, the definition of anger is a power waiting to be directed. That's all anger is. A power waiting to be directed. So the thing about that is, anger is not a bad thing. Even in the biblical tense, in the Bible, in the book of Ephesians, it says that be angry and sin not. Because you're going to be upset at a lot of things that happen in your life. But that don't give me a license to go ahead and sin and do wrong. So this anger that I have, it's just the thing. This anger is waiting for me to point it into a positive direction. And what other positive direction is? That means I could go ahead and work out. I could go ahead and put my anger like Mike Tyson and box with it and make a living out of it. Some of them take their anger out in music and song, and they're gifted, and it helps them. It helps their adrenaline. It's good. But the thing, what makes it bad is when it turns into rage, because rage means is uncontrolled, violent anger. The definition of rage is uncontrolled, violent anger, and the definition speaks for itself. It's uncontrolled. It'll make you feel like you're in control because you're controlling people and controlling situations by your weight, your size, your conversation, but you're really uncontrolled. And guess what? It turns into violence. And when violence come about, then there's where wrath and strife and envy and all that comes out. So guess what? Now, and guess what? It's anger. But that's a different one. Rage is fitful. Rage is nothing positive about rage. If you could keep it at an anger level, it's good. But once it hit rage, then that means there's some stuff deep down on the inside that need to be dealt with. So as we go into that, the first bad core belief we're going to talk about is, and everybody goes through these things. Some of them go on sporadically. And I even have one that I have to deal with all the time still, will be number 3, and we'll talk about that later. But everyone goes through these cycles, or you can go through all 6 of them, but there should be one that stands out the most that attains to your character. And this one, the first one, is called argumentative. To be argumentative. Now, the word arguing, to be argumentative, that means you're on the offensive. You're arguing. You're debating. You're on the offensive, so you're arguing. And I like to break words down because it's argumentative. Now, argument is people that like to argue. There's an argument, there's an offensive way to argue, to get your point across, to talk to people, to try to win them over with words and arguing. That's an offensive way of doing it. And ment is a middle word. The middle word to that is short for mentality. So this individual may have a mentality to want to argue all the time. Part of his identity. So guess what? He has a mentality of arguing. And then the last of that is IVE, which in the English language and in my language class, we always saw IVE or apostrophe VE means an possessive form or something. So guess what? This person right here could have a mentality of arguing and be possessed with that. Can I get a witness? Do you know anybody out there like that? We might have family members out there like that. We might have friends out there like that. And we're not like that, so we don't like to get involved in all that. But there are some argumentative people out there, and all they like to do is argue. Their mentality. So guess what? And because they have that belief system of those situations and those circumstances and events as evidence to continue to stay in that lifestyle and in that way, then guess what? They're going to keep on continuing doing it until their mind get educated and get some knowledge up in there to let them know that that's not the way to go. So that's argumentative is number 1. Number 2 is to belittle and humiliate others. Now, to belittle someone means to talk down on them, to talk real negative about them, to talk real sensitive about another individual, and not have any, because remember, these are bad core beliefs, and have not any compassion. And then humiliating others. To humiliate somebody verbally, physically, emotionally. Some can humiliate somebody sexually and still be using anger and rage out of it. Even he could turn to physically hurting someone. It's belittling and humiliating. So that is a bad core belief. But guess what? There are some people that have a lifestyle of belittling and humiliating other people, and they think that it's right. Because what? Based on their situations, their circumstances, their events, and maybe the traditional way that they were raised. So guess what? Now, to belittle someone is a check plus in their book, almost relating to bullying, a license to bully someone. And guess what? The last word of that I said, belittling, humiliating others. Now, the last one is others. See, they never look at themselves. In fact, 3 of the bad core beliefs that's in this segment has the word others in there. Now, why do you think it has the word others in there? Because they don't have to look at themselves. They don't have to examine themselves. They don't have to judge themselves. They can always judge the other person and not judge themselves and be wrong all along. So belittling and humiliating others is a bad core belief, no matter how you look at it. Now, another thing about these bad core beliefs, the thing that makes them bad core beliefs is if it's a good belief, it's going to be universality to it. It's going to be acceptance. There's going to be reasoning to it. There's going to be unification with it. That's how you know the difference from a good and a bad core belief. A bad core belief is always going to have division. There's going to be separatism. There's going to be inferiority. There's going to be some type of hierarchy or superiority to it. It's going to be I'm on top and everybody else is on bottom type mentality. That's how you know. And any of those characteristics is in it, because I'm saying the characteristics, I'm talking about them because the reason being is that sometimes some people can explain things and have a righteous, as they call, righteous indignation, and be a righteous way to be angry about something. But if it causes division and have that stuff in it, it is not right. It's almost like reading between the lines. To be able to read between the lines and see that that is not right. Because some of this stuff, the bad core beliefs, remember the belief, another definition of believing is having faith. And even biblically, the definition of faith is the evidence, the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So we are dealing with some unseen stuff. We built up some unseen governmental mental ideas that may have pertained coming out of a negative experiences in our life, and we place it together. We place our own 10, 11, 12 commandments in our head to do things as we seem fit. So that is the one to let you know that that's the way you can tell the difference from a bad core belief and a bad core belief and a good one. So number 3 is the one that if I was to say that I was the pertain to me the most, and it's called unrealistic expectations of others, especially family. Woo! That right there might have pushed some buttons right there. Unrealistic expectations. What's an unrealistic expectation? An unrealistic expectation is putting an expectation on somebody or something that you see fit, that you think should be that way. Let's say you expect your girlfriend to pay your rent. You expect your girlfriend to pay your rent every day. You expect your kids, or if a person is locked up in jail, you tell them, I want my kids up here every week. Even though the person might have a job that work probably 40 plus hours, or I expect my gas tank to be full, and you don't contribute nothing to it, and that's having an unrealistic expectation. There's nothing wrong. Everybody's gonna have expectations in their life, but when it begins to be unrealistic, it can tear down your trust method in people again, because now you're trying to put stipulations on people. And we know that people are subject to fail, and people are subject to not be 100% true to you. Things might happen to you to where you're friends one minute and not friends the next. You have family members that are cool one minute, and you have family members that are not cool the next. So guess what? Now I put these unrealistic expectations on other people to do things for me. And when it don't go my way, guess what? That's another circumstance, situation, and event that I can add another notch in my belt to go ahead and keep exhibiting and hiding the anger and the wrath and the rage underneath. It encourages me to keep my belief system of I really don't care about what nobody else think. Right or wrong, this is mine. It encourages that. So you should get to the point to where you should have no expectations on nobody. That's kind of hard to come around. Maybe through experience and learning, it can happen. But it comes to a point to where when you get failed so many times, it hurts. And then sometimes these unrealistic expectations are given from family members. Okay? Family members might have anger problems. Daddy might have an anger problem. And guess what? We all know that some of the stuff that we go through, a lot of the things that we go through in life, the green light to a lot of situations that we keep our belief system 9 times out of 10 comes from a family member, because they're our first sounding board, and they're our first teachers in life, because we live with them, the adults, and those are overseers. So we see mom and daddy do it, and we think, hey, you know what? If they doing it, it's right. Maybe it should. Maybe I should do it and it'll be right. So the thing about that is, I have to start breaking down a lot of stuff that I was taught even from my daddy and my mom. You know? I got to start breaking down a lot of that stuff. And when I did that, personally, even though my mom was my hero and a lot of adults was my hero, I had to break down a lot of stuff. And that's kind of hard when you look up to somebody so much and you have to break a lot of stuff that they taught you down and that they live by, and then you find out a lot of that stuff was wrong. I didn't have to get that angry over that situation. I don't have to go off all the time on somebody. I don't have to be the one to give the last word. Lord, help me keep my mouth shut in some situations. Give me the wisdom to control my mouth. I know I got the green light from Uncle so-and-so and Papa so-and-so and all this here. But I'm looking at them where they are in life right now, and they still in the same situations. And that in itself should tell me something. You want to have some more substance to your life than being angry. and with men, I heard it said that a lot of us, only emotions that we know how to show is either lust, sex, and anger, because those are things that we like to control. So with us men, we sure enough have to break down anger. Some of us may be even still angry because dad was never at home. Our dad was there at home and was not there. His body was there, his presence was there, but his communication level with me was not there. So the thing about that would kind of damage my communication skills with having to talk and communicating with other men. That's why with the man being in the home is so important, because the man is considered the head of the household. And so he sets the tone for the house. And the thing about that is, and the other family just follow behind the head. Now, if the head is cracked, guess what? We're going to have some crackhead babies. And it ain't no joke when you come over like that type of household with a whole bunch of anger and wrath and fussing and arguing and offenses and defenses. It is not good. I'm going to give you a story what happened one time to a friend of mine. I was locked up in jail. And I used to always pick up the mop bucket and I mop my area in the cell area that I was staying in. And I mop it and mop it and mop it every day. Never ask him to mop it. I consider, hey man, I'm grown. I don't want to live filthy. I don't want to live nasty. So I'll go ahead and clean the place up myself. Clean it up. Now, if he was spilling stuff on the floor, then yeah, he got to clean up after himself. But as far as mandatory maintenance, just wiping the sink off and keeping the floor clean, there's no problem. So guess what? He kept looking at me every day. I got this mop and got this sponge and got this rag. And as I would wipe down the walls, especially mop the floor, he'd look at me and he said, just look and look away. And then one day, I finally, kind of as you would say, probably had enough. But I really wanted to know what the deal was with him always looking at me and trying and seeing what's going on. Because if I'm doing something wrong, you can talk to me. We can talk about it, communicate about it. Long as it's not life threatening or anything. And I said, Sally, why do you look at me every time I mop the floor? I noticed that you give me this strange look in your eye when I mopped the floor. And he looked at me and he kind of shook his head a little bit, like wow, he noticed that I'm looking at him. And so he said, Stell, he said, I don't mean to be offensive. I said, but will you, if I tell you this, would you please not be upset with me? I said, yeah, no problem. I sure will. I said, I won't be upset. Go ahead and tell me. And so next thing you know, he says, my mom taught me growing up that all niggers were nasty. And so I looked at him and he had such a look on his face like, man, you know, you asked and I told you, and you know, he didn't feel like he was not offensive at all. He looked like he had really sympathy in his eyes, very conflicted. Because why? The belief. And so as he's watching me mop this floor every day and wipe this, what's going through this gentleman's head is, I'm looking at this, and then I got my mama's tradition in my head telling me otherwise, that I was raised up with, that gave me the green light to want to do what I want to do. And I'm in a battle right now. And I'm looking at him, this guy mop this floor and clean, and it's breaking it down even more and more. And I want to share this with you is that sometimes that you could enter in somebody else's belief system indirectly and incoherently. I didn't know that guy before I saw him there. But guess what? I was allowed the opportunity to step into his belief system unknowingly. Now, how do you think that he felt about the things that his mother taught him? What do you think he had to do? What do you think his next move was? Or what would you do after seeing and witnessing something like that? I know what it did, what I would do. Make me go back and really re-examine the stuff that was taught to me. That was taught to me by my relatives or my family. And I realized that as I did personally, that there was a lot of unrealistic expectations that I had through the green light of my family. But you know, they say you get, as the older you get, the wiser you get. You're supposed to. But then some don't. And there's an old saying I heard, that ain't no fool worse than an old fool. Because, and old fools was once young fools. I mean, they never learned something. So, me and the guy was cool and everything, but I want to share that story with you of how your belief system can work in an individual, especially with family. So, the thing about that I'm saying now is, re-examine. Be bold enough to re-examine a lot of the stuff that was not universally taught to you to be good. Because guess what? You might be that same belief that was passed down in that young man, his mama, ain't no telling how many times it got passed down and got to him and it finally broke. So re-examine a lot of stuff that happened in your life and figure out if this is a bad core belief or is this something that's good. Okay? So unrealistic expectations of others, especially family or la familia, is number 3. So we went over being argumentative, which is being offensive, wanting to be offensive. And then we went over belittling, number 2, belittling and humiliating other people, which is another bad core belief. And number 3, we went through unrealistic expectations of others, especially family. Now, number 4 that we're going to go through right quick out of the 6, number 4 is being defensive. Defensive. Having a defensive mentality. Break the word down. Defense. IVE. So, IVE. Possessive form of being defensive. And one thing about being defensive is, and there's a lot of people that are defensive. Even I was defensive, been defensive. Still have to battle defensiveness. Especially being over a person that is defensive, very defensive, on the cool, is a person that has been offended. If there was in any game, there's an offense and there's a defense. And so the opposite of defense is offense. So there are some offenses. If you are an individual that's very defensive about every little thing, you need to check yourself and see if you are not, where are you offended at? And is that offense in you a root that's really deep inside of you that you can't even pinpoint out? Because we have roots inside of us that cannot be pinpointed out. And that's what counseling and that's what these self-help anger management classes that I'm doing and teaching right now help. It helps me to get down there real deep that I don't look at every day, because why? I'm so used to on a busy routine schedule at work and being a dad and being a mother, somebody being a mother or being a housewife or something. And some of this stuff is buried so deep that it would take some quiet time, some still time, and really some God helping you to look into yourself to help you re-examine your DNA, your spiritual DNA makeup, your mental DNA makeup, your emotional DNA makeup, all of that, and bring it to a conclusion to see, throw out what's bad and throw out what's wrong and start filling it up with what's right. But we can't get to the good. We can't get to the good. The good want to come in. But the thing is that when you got all that bad and those bad core beliefs inside of you, there's a dam right there that won't let the whole infilling of good go through. So what we're doing is we chipping away this dam. And we get it out the way so nothing but good fruit can come up out of it. All right? So to be defensive means that I had to be offended. Defensive. Let me tell you about being defensive. Defensive is probably one of the most dangerous ones. To me, I believe. Because when you're defensive about something, or even being a defensive listener. Let's say that you're a defensive listener. What's a defensive listener? Somebody that can listen. And you can have people that, let's say, that's listening to a preacher or listening to somebody or listening to mom or dad or being told something right or what they're supposed to do. And guess what happens? You can be a defensive listener and they can be telling you the right thing to do, and you get this expression just like this. And go, yeah, that's right. And on the inside, behind that smile, you saying, I can't stand this stupid so. This ignorant so. I wish he'd shut up. With that same smile going on. I wish he'd shut up, Lord. I just pray the dude just shut up quickly. And that's what's called being a defensive listener. And I have done, you can master that. That's the mastering manipulation. And guess what? It keeps rage and uncontrolled anger inside of you because you're not listening to what it is that you need to do. And you've already built up a defense to keep you from doing what you need to do. I know you can probably say, you know what, I'm kind of too old. I'm set in my ways. I've been like that. But guess what? It's never too late to change. I heard an old man say one time that there's always hope for an individual long as there's breath in the body. And so if you have that kind of mentality, then you got the mentality of saying that it's never over until it's over. So guess what? Being defensive is number 4. Don't be a defensive listener. Even in the Bible, it says, despise not prophesying. So what I'm saying right there is listen to what the individual have to say. Be careful, because the very thing that you are defending and not wanting to listen to might be your keys to life and eliminating a whole bunch of things that can happen in your life. It might be the keys there, but you have to have an open mind, to be an open listener and an open responder. Not be so defensive. The Lord chastises those that he loves. Chastisement comes because a person care about you. It's not that they don't care about you. But the thing about this, that is that It's the difference from disciplining and punishing somebody. Sometimes we've been mixed up with the bad core belief that punishment is chastisement. And it's not. And that's where abusive situations come up. That's when people start getting real abusive, and it's not good. So being defensive. If you are a defensive individual, find out what it is that you're really defending, and those beliefs inside of you that you're defending, are they really worth all the hurt? Because some people are so defensive and angry, they can't keep a good woman. They can't keep a good man. They can't keep a good job. And yet they still defend the belief system in their mind, in their system of government, up here in this head right here, that they are right. But how are you right all the time when every time you are losing? The fruits don't match the seed. Okay. Now, the next one that we're going to look into. Excuse me. This is some good stuff right here. There's some keys. These some keys right here God and give me to help out somebody. It's to help you learn about yourself. That's when you grow. When you learn about yourself. Not learn about everything else, but when you learn you. You have to learn you. And unlearn a lot of the stuff that you've learned and get to the identity of learning you. You've done too much for everybody else and picked up everybody's cliches, and you still don't know you yet because of all of this right here. But guess what? We're going to heal that. We sure are. We're going to get to these roots and we're going to pull them up. God said we got to pull them up. So guess what? The next one is critical of others. Being critical of others. There's that word again. Others. Why do I have to do an individual have to be critical of others? I tell you, well, like I said before, they do not have to look at themselves. The worst enemy is the enemy that's in me. I am the screen door to hurts. I am the screen door to pain. I am the screen door to that. Even without knowingly knowledge, maybe things happened to me when I was young, child abuse, beat. But there comes a point to where I got to take responsibility and get to the point of growing up to where I don't need these thoughts no more. Being critical of others. To be critical of somebody is almost like being, as the next bad core belief that we're going to get into, judgmental. But being critical of others is I'm always critical of somebody else. I'm talking about somebody else. Somebody might not even, they looks might make me critical without even getting to know them. Because why? The reason I'm critical of other people is because my lack of trust. Now, trust. Now, true enough, you're not just supposed to just get out there and trust any and everybody. Okay? The graveyard will be definitely more full than it is now. But just to judge people off the top of your head in a negative way and keep it that way, you're going to always see negative in people. You're going to see a lot of negative around other people. You're going to see a lot of negativity. But to hold to it and not get to the bottom line of the whole situation is to be like, and just base my whole facts, base my whole demeanor, base my whole commandment structure on just being critical. I can miss out and lose a lot of my blessings that I have waiting on me, because I can be critical of this and be critical and be prejudiced and racist and not knowing that this white man is the one that's going to bless me with my next job that's making 6 figures a year. Or this woman right here that might not look too good, that all she got to do is dress up and get some instructions on maintenance or whatnot, and she could be the most beautifulest woman alive. But when I get critical, Because I don't trust nobody, I can always, being critical, I can always label an individual as something negative off of what I see and stick it to my unseen belief system. And guess what? I'm critical of everybody else when I need to be really critical of me. Why am I not the one with friends? Why am I not the one? Why am I the one with the anger problem? Why am I the one that have rage and fits? Knowing deep down inside I want to change and I want to get this done. I want to not be like this. Knowing deep down inside I don't. But as I'm critical of other people, the people that God already have ready to bless me in so many different areas and jobs and skills and to help me better myself, guess what? I'm so critical even without the evidence and I miss out. How many blessings do you think you yourself might have missed out on by being too critical with other people? Or just basing what you're going through on hearsay? Not what you heard, but on hearsay. I know I've missed a whole lot of blessings. And I've been proven wrong in a whole lot of instances as well because of this. Being critical of other people. Because people can change. I might have to get them. I might have to walk through a lot of hurt and a lot of pain. But they can change. So try not to be critical of others. And when you're trying to be critical of others all the time, turn that mirror around and be critical of you. And start examining yourself. Because I guarantee you, in us, we have enough that we need to deal with and put our own hard hats on about ourselves than anybody else out there. I guarantee you. So that's number 5, being critical of others. Pointing the finger and not pointing it back. Not realizing that I got more of them pointed right back at me. Because guess what? Being critical of others can leave an individual before long into a critical condition. Spiritually, mentally, emotionally. And it could weigh down on me so bad that it could turn into physically. So now, I hope there's some good stuff you're getting right now. So the last one that we're going to talk about is judgmental. That's number 6. We went through argumentative, went through belittling. Number 1, argumentative. 2, belittling and humiliating others. Number 3, unrealistic expectations of others, especially family. Number 4, defensive. Number 5, critical of others. And number 6, judgmental. Judgmental. 2 words right there. That means it's almost like being critical of others, but being critical of others is more or less into your identity than judgmental. Because being judgmental means I have the mentality of being the judge of every and all things. And guess what? A critical of others person may can sway and change their mind because they base it on others. But when you are judgmental, you're talking about yourself. That means you the king on the throne. Can't nobody come in and tell you, because you have a mentality of being judged, of judging people, of being judged and judging people. Now, there's only one judge and one lawgiver in the book of James. In the Bible, it says there's only one judge and one lawgiver. And I ain't it. And nobody else is walking here on earth is it. So, it says judge not and be not judged. But being judgmental is almost being worshiping yourself. I'm the judge. I'm the jury. Nobody can tell me what to do. This ain't even got nothing to do with other people. This is me. And I don't care if I'm wrong or if I'm right. I got an anger problem. And if I want to judge it to be the way I want to and I want to keep my anger problem, guess what? I will do that. Judgmental, being judgmental is just like self-worship, worshiping yourself. And that is not good. Judgmental people will and can and will be the most loneliest people that you'll ever meet. They got an answer for everything and everybody, but don't know how to answer their own problem. Or they say the answers out all the time to everybody else, but can't take in their own advice. But they're the judge. Just like the judge sitting in the box in the courtroom. He all by himself. Got a black robe on. Sitting up there. Hammering. Bam. Sentencing. That's what a judgmental person does. Stand up in the box in the courtroom. Slams the gavel. Judge. And sentences other people. Hardly ever uses any mercy. And even biblically speaking, the mercy that you give out, the seeds of mercy that you give out, is what you're going to reap. Now, is that the way we want to be? Judgmental? We got enough judges out there that's not even licensed judges. A lot of them in the church house, a lot of them in the clubs, a lot of them out there that are judgmental and don't have a heaven to put you in or a hell to kick you out of, or vice versa. But being judgmental is dangerous. These 6 bad core beliefs are very dangerous. And a lot of people under the sound of my voice, if you know that these 6 bad core beliefs have existed inside of you, and you being honest and serious and true with yourself, not hiding behind your identity, not hiding behind what so-and-so think about you, not hiding behind what other people think about you, tired of people pleasing people, tired of all that there, and you getting rock gut serious with yourself. If you be honest with yourself and tell yourself, you know what, these things have hit me on the head, just hit me on the head loud and clear, and I can't get around it, I can't run around it no more, I need to do something about it. Then you ready. Are you tired of being angry? Because I guarantee you, some of these 6 bad core beliefs are some triggers and some roots and some seeds that has been filtered through your character for years. And the roots is ready to be pulled up. Now the thing about it is, are you ready? I told you mine was unrealistic expectations of others, especially family. That was mine. I hit them all. But the one that stood out the most, the foundational root, was that one right there. What is yours? The Bible says, let every man examine himself to see if he is of the faith or reprobate. What is yours? This is reprobate thinking right here. What is yours? Okay? I just want to thank y'all for joining this segment. It's the 3rd segment on anger management by James Stell. And I hope that the words in this here, that it reveals some revelation inside to make you want to better yourself and just be able to just live the rest of your life as peaceful as you can get it, because you really deserve peace. But the enemy that's in you do not want you to have that, and it's time that you get some peace and get rid of this anger. Okay? All right. Bye-bye. Be blessed.